what's going on. Let me pray for you. Let me encourage you. But you got to take the step, okay? God is calling you to respond. So that's challenge one. Now that may be the fact that maybe you've never trusted Jesus before. Maybe you were like the disciples and you knew the book, you knew the words, but you never trusted Christ in faith and repentance. Well, today can be the day for that. Maybe you trusted Christ a long time ago. And yet you're still facing a storm and you're not sure how to move. And that's the beautiful thing about this following Jesus is that when we become Christians, we become part of a family, part of a body. And the church is here to minister to one another. So I encourage you to step up and get ministered to. You're not an island. You're not alone. You got to step forward, though, and let one another take. The Bible tells us, and I'm kind of leaving where I was saying, that the Spirit's leading me here. The Bible tells us that we should bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. The law of Christ. Not the suggestion, not the good idea of Christ, the law of Christ. We should bear one another's burdens. And oftentimes, church, we hear that message, and when we hear it, what we think is, well, that means I need to find somebody's burden that I can help bear. Is that not what we hear? But what if I told you that the number one reason that we fail to fulfill the law of Christ, the number one reason, the number one obstacle to bearing one another's burdens is not that we won't take on somebody else's burdens, but we won't share what our burden is. That's a two-way street, church. Number one, you got to be willing to bear your neighbor's burden. But guess what? You got to be willing to let your neighbor burden yours, and it puts you in a vulnerable place. We don't want to share our burden because we want to be in what? In control. So this morning, if you've got a burden, I encourage you, if you want to share it with me, if you want to share it with your neighbor, but share it with somebody. The second challenge I have to you is maybe you're not facing a storm right now. I guarantee you will eventually. That's the one thing that we're guaranteed about life. If it's going good now, it's going to get worse. If it's going bad now, it's going to get better. But that's the reality of life. But be conscious of the fact that, and be aware of the fact that the people you're dealing with are facing storms. And when they face storms in their lives, it's easy to judge, it's easy to condemn, it's easy to tell them, well, I'll tell you what you need to do. But that's not what they need. What they need is somebody to love them. And to say, look, I'm here for you. Now, I mean, and don't get me wrong, if somebody's a drug addict and they're living in your house, somebody asked me this one time, they said, you know, preacher, I think I need to put this person out of my house. I said, well, yeah. They said, well, I don't know if that's the Christian thing to do. I said, well, yeah, it is. Because there's no sense in keeping them in your house and watching your whole family go down the tubes because of this person's problem. So, yeah, you can love somebody by putting them out of the house, okay? Or cutting ties or so. But when you do that, make sure that you are blameless in it. Make sure that they know that you're there for them. You'll be surprised that with that tough love, when things, in my experience, when things get a couple miles down the road, what happens? They come back and they say, you know, I knew you loved me. And of course, that's something Jesus has to control, not us. So be aware of the storms that other people are facing, and don't be so quick to tell them what they need to do. Be quick to offer them a word of encouragement and love. And the third challenge I have for you is just to, maybe you don't know anybody facing a storm, you're not aware of it. Maybe you're not facing a storm. Maybe everything is okay. And I would encourage you to pray for those people around you. Even if you don't know who they are, just as you go and pass it. We got a prayer list I was looking at as I came in this morning. You've got neighbors and friends. You've got people that don't know Jesus. Pray for them. And don't pray in that way where you just ask it, you know, God, I hope they're all right. Pray knowing that something's going to happen. Just be aware, because sometimes what Jesus uses to change people's hearts is storms. Pray with me. Our Father in heaven,